Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tawny. I hope you're all staying healthy and happy and safe during this time. I post fashion, beauty, and lifestyle related videos, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about intermittent fasting. So if you are interested in hearing a little bit more about intermittent fasting and how it affected me, maybe some tips and tricks on how you can incorporate it into your life if you're interested in giving it a shot, then just keep watching. All right, so what is intermittent fasting? Chances are, if you've clicked on this video, you already know generally what intermittent fasting is. It's a diet or a lifestyle where you really only eat for a certain number of hours during the day. I think the most common way that people do this is they eat for a period of 8 hours during the day and they fast for the other 16 hours of the day. I think the most popular time frame that I've seen is people fasting until noon, so they don't eat any breakfast essentially, and then they stop eating at 8 p.m. and they don't eat anything afterward. But there are many ways to modify this. You can change the window as you please, and you can even shorten or lengthen that window. Let's say you don't want to fast for 16 hours, but you want to fast for maybe 14 hours, or you really want to test yourself and try to fast for 18 hours or 20 hours. There are a lot of different ways to do this, and I think it's all about finding what works best for the individual. Intermittent fasting is supposed to help people lose weight. I think that's the primary reason why most people start intermittent fasting, but there's also a lot of research going on how it can be really healthy for people by lowering cholesterol and blood pressure and just a bunch of other healthy benefits. I do think that there still is a lot more research to be done, but overall it doesn't seem like there are very many risks to intermittent fasting as opposed to the benefits. So why was I interested in intermittent fasting? I have actually done intermittent fasting in the past, not even calling it intermittent fasting, but I remember being in college, gaining the freshman 15 or even a little bit more than that. And the times that I was trying to lose weight, the easiest way for me to do it was basically to go to bed hungry. And I've seen a few funny memes out there about how intermittent fasting is the new millennial way of saying skipping breakfast or skipping dinner, which it kind of makes sense. Basically, you're pushing out either your morning meal or your evening meal, or at least shortening one of those meals quite a bit. And in the last few months, I wanted to kind of lose a couple of pounds. I'm by no means overweight, but I do know my body and I know that I've gained a few extra pounds that is not from gaining muscle mass. And I know that I have just a little bit of fluff that I kind of wanted to take care of and slim down. And also, I did want to actually challenge myself from start to finish and really stick to intermittent fasting as opposed to just doing it for a day here and a day there and seeing really how this could change my body in a pretty short amount of time. So basically what I did for this challenge was I did intermittent fasting for 5 days, and I did an 8-hour eating window and a 16-hour fast. The hours of the day that I decided to allow myself to eat were between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. So I'm one of the people who really needs to have a breakfast in the morning, which is why I decided to make my window cover a normal breakfast time. And that's because if I'm hungry in the morning when I'm working, I cannot focus on anything other than food. I will just be counting down the clock until it's time for me to break my fast at 10 a.m. or noon or whenever would be my break fast time. But 9 a.m. is a fine time for me to start eating, and I feel like that really covers the work day mostly so that I'm not hungry while I'm working, which for me is the most important thing. I also think that this is a wonderful time for people to try out intermittent fasting because the majority of us are working or just living at home the whole day. So it's a lot easier to maybe make a dinner at 4 p.m. or just eat more throughout the day and prepare more meals throughout the day as opposed to waiting until you get back from work at 6, 7 7 p.m. and then maybe exercising and then maybe finally getting to make a meal later on in the evening. I also want to mention that I really did not exercise during this challenge because I really wanted to isolate the effects of intermittent fasting. I think I went on maybe 2 walks during this time. They were not strenuous walks. They were under 2 miles each. There were no hills involved. So it was a very kind of not exercise heavy time. So all of the effects that I'm seeing really was only due to the food and the timing of the food that I was eating. If you are interested in the kind of food that I've been eating during this intermittent fasting time, I will be posting a video probably about what I eat in a day or what I did eat in a day during this kind of schedule, so you can get a little bit of a better look. But for the most part, I'd have a smoothie in the morning. I'll usually have a sandwich or maybe some leftovers from previous night's dinner for lunch. And then my afternoon snack is typically some sort of carbohydrate and a little bit of extra protein, maybe some turkey slices or a soy milk latte. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I actually did consume calories after 5 p.m. on most of these nights. So I kind of cheated just a little bit, but this is really the only way for me to actually stick to the intermittent fasting. I gave myself a couple of guidelines to follow, however. So really after 5 p.m., I would allow myself to drink liquids that had calories in them, but were not high in sugar. So for example, I was allowing myself to have a glass of soy milk, that had a little bit of protein and has a little bit of added sugar, but not too much sugar. It's not like drinking a soda or a juice. And another one of my favorite fasting meals is sipping on chicken broth or chicken stock. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I actually really love savory, salty foods, and it doesn't bother me to sip it through a straw in a mug. Chicken stock actually has quite a bit of protein for the amount of calories that it has, and I personally love the flavor of it. So that was something that I was doing. Usually I'd have about a cup of either chicken stock or vanilla soy milk, for example. I will also say on the last day of my intermittent fasting, it was a Friday evening, and while I did not eat food that Friday evening, I did have some Trulies, so I was still consuming calories. They are not very high in carbohydrates, so they kind of fit in those guidelines I gave myself, but I found that that really didn't affect the results that much at all. And I will tell you guys day by day how much I lost from one day to the next. By the way, I weigh myself every single morning, kind of in the same state to control the variables as much as possible. So at the same time in the morning, I wasn't drinking a glass of water before I was weighing myself. I wasn't drinking my breakfast before I was weighing myself. It was all kind of the same time and weigh. So from the first day of my intermittent fasting to the second day of my intermittent fasting, I actually did not lose any weight, which I was kind of surprised about. Usually the first day or two, I would see the most weight loss, but who knows? It could have been because of my menstrual cycle. It could have been something that I ate that day. It could have just been a number of factors, but that weight stayed the same. However, from the second to the third day, I actually lost 1.5 pounds, which I was really impressed with. It almost seemed like there was a delayed reaction in my body from the first day to the second day, and then the second day to the third day, but I was definitely very pleased when I saw that. And then from the third day to the fourth day, I lost 0.5 pound, which I was happy to see. It's always great when you see the scale going down anything, so I was still happy with 0.5 pound. But then from the fourth to the fifth day, I didn't lose any weight, so I was still the same weight, which I think is totally normal. It is normal to plateau and not lose weight every single day. Again, this could be due to a number of factors, maybe just how much water you had in your body from one day to the next, but at least my weight wasn't going up, so I saw that as a good sign. And then from the fifth day of intermittent fasting to the sixth morning, I actually lost another 1.5 pounds, which I was very surprised about, but definitely pleased with. And I think it just goes to show you that so many variables can play into this, but overall, I know that it worked for my body. I lost in total 3.5 pounds. Of course, some of that can be water weight and extraneous variables, but that's a pretty good amount to see consistently staying the same or going down on the scale for a number of days. I will show you guys some before and afters if I muster up the courage to do that. You probably won't see that much difference. I honestly don't see that much of a difference right now, but I know that I feel better, and I definitely feel better in the evening and nighttime when I'm not falling asleep on a super full stomach. I know it's better for my body to go to sleep not having to digest a really heavy, unhealthy meal. So overall, this is definitely something that I want to continue doing. Probably not every single day of my life, but maybe during the week when I have a little bit more of a set schedule, that tends to be easier for me to stick to a routine like this. And then I can let myself go a little bit on the weekends and kind of have a little bit more fun. Of course, we're not socializing a whole lot right now, but it is nice to give yourself that flexibility to, when you go to a restaurant with friends eventually, to not have to be awkward and not eat any food when everyone is socializing and having a grand old time. So overall, I do want to remind you guys that I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor. Please take everything I say with a grain of salt. This is what worked for me. I'm in no way advising anyone else to do what I'm doing, but if you are interested in intermittent fasting and curious to see how it has affected other people, this is how it affected me. I hope you maybe learned something from it. And if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing down below. I will continue to make more health related videos. I really enjoy these kind of challenge videos, and I am really interested in seeing how I can challenge myself in the future. So stay tuned for those. And if you are interested in any of my other content like fashion, luxury goods, beauty, skincare, I have all of that as well. So please subscribe down below, turn on that bell notification, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.